Hey, what's up, guys? Um, I'm back again with another video, and this is actually going to be the second installment of the 5 external causes for your anxiety. Granted, I said it was going to be a mini series. I also said I'd have another couple out during that week. It's 2 months later, so I guess we're just going to have to deal with that. It is what it is. As always, I've been busy, so without further ado, I guess we're just going to jump right into it. Well, 5 external causes to your anxiety that you basically can't control. And that's really what the premise of this whole little mini series was supposed to be. So the first one that we discussed was procrastination. And I hope that, we kind of took something from that and actually put something into action to alleviate. And I hope that you're really knocking those lists out. So moving forward, today we're going to talk more about maybe thought processes or irrational thinking. Granted, sometimes it seems like we can't control these things, but I tend to disagree simply because I have been able to, in my own way, kind of limit the irrational thinking, or not so much even limit it, but I don't know, I'd like to say I kind of put a cap on it, if that makes any sense. So, um, first and foremost, I would like to go over some of my own irrational thoughts and see if maybe you find any similarities, or maybe you've had some of these yourself. Granted, I mean, feel free, grab your journal, grab your notebook, and write down some of the irrational fears, and I'm sure that we can cross bridges and kind of integrate them, as they are all one and the same. They are irrational thinking, and they are, whatever mine is and whatever yours are. I mean, all in all, they are just that, irrational thinking. So, irrational thoughts, um, what a plague, right? I mean, these irrational thoughts and thought processes and extreme thinking and going to, not really having much of a gray area can be, quite intrusive, on your day, as you all probably are well aware. Um, for myself, I guess I'd like to talk and start with like maybe, the times that I spend by myself when these irrational thoughts tend to strike the worst. And as I've stated in previous videos, really the two times that it really, really gets to me is when I'm in the shower and also when I'm in the car. So when I'm in the car, a lot of times I'll just be driving, 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 and it's typically my longest drives are to work. I, spend about 45-minute commute, one way, and I will, jump in the car and I just immediately just start kind of going over my day, like thinking about all the trials and tribulations and fights and whatever I needed to do in order to get my store right for the day. And I start to play all of these scenarios in my mind that could potentially happen. And granted, I think that's pretty basic, and I think a lot of people go through those things, and I think a lot of people, actually probably most people do this on a day-to-day basis, but I don't know if they allow it to affect them as much. Me, it kind of sends my anxiety soaring. So, for instance, I will start thinking about, particular processes or new programs or whatever that are being introduced into the company, and it has to basically be performed at store level. So, um, obviously, with any kind of new process, I mean, whether you are management or you're the leader or you're one of the associates or workers in your facility, when change comes, like what does that typically bring? You start to think about all the new bullshit that you're going to have to do, and the pushback is ridiculous, right? I mean, the pushback from people is, oh God, it's very difficult because it's hard to get people to buy into something because it's change, and people don't like change. For the most part, people don't like change. Yes, there are some outliers that love change. They love to do new things, blah blah blah. But this isn't reality with us. Come on, let's call it what it is, right? So what I'll do is I'll play all of these things in my mind of the things that I need to get done, and then I play how the pushback is going to play out and how I'm going to deal with those things. And I end up basically having like 20 arguments that never really transpired with a bunch of different people that I don't know how it's going to really affect them, but like I said, in my own mind I have done so. And I mean, does this really cover irrational thinking? No, because all those things could potentially happen. But again, it sends my anxiety kind of up, and it's like I'm already fired up by the time I get to work. I mean, I am ready to get it going. I'm ready to make some shit happen. But sometimes when it starts to become, I mean, somewhat overwhelming, where it's like my anxiety is really starting to, really ramp me up, and I'm ready to take on whoever and whatever that doesn't want to follow suit. Um, Instead of explaining the whys, all of a sudden my mind just goes off into a different realm of thinking. Like I will start thinking to myself as I'm driving, because anger is also building as well, which I'm sure you can relate to, is all of a sudden my mind will just completely transform into the thought of me taking my car and slamming it into the car next to me, or driving across 4 lanes of traffic and hitting somebody, and then I start to, think that I control these people's fates, and it's really irrational thought process. I mean, it's really crazy. I mean, granted, could those things happen? Yes. Am I going to do them? No. But my mind starts to, I don't know, just starts to come up with other things for me to focus on, because I mean, obviously, it doesn't want to focus on the painful thoughts of what I have to do going to work. So I would say that'd be like one really good example of irrational thinking. I'm going to crash across 3 lanes of traffic, and I'm going to slam into this person, and God knows there could be a baby in there, it could be some old folks, an entire family, Lord knows, right? And I know I'm not going to do those things. I genuinely do. And you want to know why? It's because it scares you, right? It scares you that this potentially might happen. But the fact that it scares you, like most things, kind of, I don't know, proves the fact that you're not going to do it. But we can, I don't know, I like to really kind of call this condoning the crazy. Like if you start to believe in your heart of hearts that you're going to commit these horrible acts, you're condoning the crazy. And I mean, especially when talking about anxiety and panic, I really try to stay away from the word crazy because, I mean, it's hurtful, right? And of course, none of us want to be considered crazy. I mean, I don't want to be considered crazy. I know you don't want to be considered crazy. And ultimately, I don't think we are crazy. We just are very creative minds. So, with that being said, we are going to call it condoning the crazy simply because that's what I do. I condone the crazy by thinking that I potentially might do something. And the fact of the matter is you're not going to do these things. And if you think about some of the most irrational thoughts you've had in your mind, like someone's really angering you, and you start to think about either ramming your car into the back of them, smacking the crap out of them, shaking them, and be like, "What are you thinking?" I mean, think about those things. Like, we all think about that kind of stuff, and it gets you all amped up and ramped up. And it's just like when you replay old, hurtful, scary, bothersome memories. When you start playing those videos in your body starts to react as though it's actually happening. Like, weirdly enough, your body believes anything that your mind tells it. And I know that's kind of a hard thing to grasp, but it's true. I mean, just like how we can talk ourselves in and out of a hospital, you can talk yourself in and out of symptoms. Your mind can also talk you into into feeling as though a situation is actually occurring. Whether it's an argument, a fight, even like sporting events or doing something insane. Like it's just what the body does. It follows your mind. The mind is the leader, and that's why it's so important to not condone the crazy, because your body follows suit. You know, I mean, I read a couple of comments on my videos where, I had a few folks talking back and forth about how, if you don't treat your anxiety attacks or panic attacks, like you're going to have horrible health complications. And then, of course, they had a link to some sort of 60-minute program or whatever bullshit that's going to help you or steal your money. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but most of the ones that I've actually looked at, I'm not saying that I looked at them all, but the ones that I've actually looked into program-wise have been bullshit. So, anyways, that's besides the point. But let's go back to that thought where, these anxiety and panic attacks, if left untreated, are going to hurt you and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we've talked about this. No one's ever died of a panic attack, right? No one ever has died from a panic attack. And that's kind of weird for some people because they're not exactly sure what could happen to them. And that's, I guess, where I come in, where it's like, yes, stress is a silent killer. Absolutely. I do not deny that for a split second that stress is a silent killer. But that's for everyone, and everyone goes through that. Just because you have anxiety and panic and the processes that go through it biochemically and physically and all that kind of stuff, that's not going to kill you. I mean, sure, it's in your best interest to find a way to calm down, but blah, blah, blah. Anyways, what my point is that's going back into an irrational realm of thought, okay? Like that anxiety and panic can kill you. And it really can't. I'm trying to think of some other like really good irrational thoughts. I think in like one of my videos, I convinced myself I couldn't walk, and it was just by sitting there, and then I started thinking like, what if I can't walk right now? And then my legs started feeling funny, blah blah blah. I think one of my favorites, which I think we can all kind of relate to, at some point in time, you started to think that you were possessed by a demon. Tell me that I'm lying. You thought that you might be possessed by a demon, a spirit, an evil entity, or something was causing all this havoc in your life. Okay? I don't think that's uncommon, but extremely irrational. Simply because what would be the reason, the cause, etc., etc.? I mean, if you fear ghosts, demons, goblins, whatever it is, like, and you're giving them that much power to where you're like trembling in fear, like, let's think about this for a minute. Okay, so you're a ghost, entity, demon, spirit, etc., etc., and you have the ability to hurt me or whatever reason. Why would you just scare me or scare the living shit out of me and not do anything? Like, why is it not like the movies where I'm flipping upside down, getting my head smashed through windows, all that kind of bullshit, right? I mean, any irrational line of thinking, can really be debunked if you sit and think about it. I'm not saying that this shit doesn't exist. I just have never seen it, and I hope I never do, and I really hope it doesn't exist. I'm really not going to talk about it much more simply because it's like, whatever. The point is I know that we have all at some point in time kind of thought that because it's a possibility. It's, going to the doctor 3, 4, 5 times and them telling you there's nothing wrong with you and you've been tested for cancer and AIDS and all this other bullshit, and they can't figure out why you feel the way you are. Of course, you're going to look for a ding, ding, ding external reason why this is all happening to you. Okay? But here's a tip. This tip worked for me so well, and it's something that I think that everybody could benefit from, and it feels really uncomfortable at first, as do most things that we're not used to. Hence, we don't like change. Well, what I started to do when I would have these irrational thoughts, like I'm gonna go to out to a bar, disco, wherever I was going, restaurant, and I was gonna get sick, throw up, pass out, act crazy in front of my friends. Well, the thing of it is like the actual thought is what's scary. But this is the tip. This is the trick. What I would do is, especially if I was alone, I would start to say out loud exactly what I was doing. Like, if I was going to meet up with some friends, I'd be like, I'm just going to meet up with some friends. I have known so and so for so long, and I've known this person, and we've had fun in the past, and these people know me, and they love me, and they care about me, and they understand, who I am, what I'm about, the whole nine. And it was weird. Like, I'd be like, hey, I'm just driving in the car, just driving to work right now. Yep, just driving to work, and I know it sounds nuts because someone next to you's probably, "Who- this guy talking to himself?" Screw it, you could be singing for all they know. It doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is actually like narrating what you're doing, and I'm laughing to myself because I know how nuts this is going to sound, and it's going to be uncomfortable to do, but to narrate what you're doing really alleviates these irrational thoughts because it actually puts into perspective what you're actually going to be doing as opposed to what your creative, scary mind is trying to think you're going into. Like when you're going into a restaurant or whatever, or you're going out to the bar, or you're going to school or to work, you think of a million crazy, scary things that could possibly happen. It's true. Like they're nutty thoughts. But they're just thoughts. Thoughts, only thoughts. That was another one I think I've talked about. It's like I used to say that to myself whenever I would start to get a really scary thought. I would think to myself, thoughts, only thoughts. Because that's all it was. What's the number one rule? What's the fundamental? What's the foundation? What has it been? Almost every video. Take it for what it is, not worse than it is. You, in all actuality, are on your way to a restaurant to meet friends, to have a beer, have a burger, have a steak, whatever, enjoy some nice conversation. That is it. That's all that's going on. But in your head is, well, I'm going into this war zone that could potentially ruin who I am in the eyes of all these people. And I understand how scary of a thought that could be. I've been there more times than I could count. I mean, I've been there where I've been worried about how someone would judge me or how someone would view me after maybe I had an episode. But think about it for a second. If you were to have an episode, like, what's really going to happen? What's really going to happen? What if you have to get up and leave? I mean, we're all great actors. We've talked about that. I mean, if the anxiety got so bad, you're just going to get up and leave. I mean, at no point are you going to pass out. Or are you going to, like, just start screaming crazily and, flinging your own shit at people or whatever. I mean, you're not going to do those things. I mean, think about how many panic attacks you've had, and has that happened once? Honestly, like, answer that question. Out of all the times that you thought this was going to happen or that was going to happen, I'm going to pass out, how many times has it actually happened? I know that it has happened to some people, but it's a very, very small percentage. And it could be something, outside of anxiety. I mean, typically, those types of things don't happen. It's just fear. It's the fear of fear. That's what really gets you. And these rational thoughts is what kicks your ass. And like I said, narrating what you're doing. And if there's somebody else in the car, just do it in your head. Just be like, yeah, that's what I'm doing, blah, blah. I'm just kind of just doing the thing, whatever. I mean, you're not really, you don't have to say it out loud, but I mean, narrate what you're doing. I mean, for some reason, it puts your mind at ease. It reminds your brain of what you're actually doing, not what it thinks you could potentially be doing. Like I said, like going to a big scary restaurant and going in front of a bunch of people. Narrate your life. Do it. Do it for a week. It starts to become like kind of habit forming, and you just start doing it subconsciously, and then I don't know, it kind of alleviates a lot of the things. So, like I said, don't condone the crazy, don't fear the fear, and narrate some of the things that you're doing in your life. And they're thoughts, only thoughts. Even if you have to chant that to yourself, just say it to yourself. Thoughts, only thoughts. Thoughts, only thoughts. Because that's all they are. They're nothing more. They're not going to hurt you. It may make you feel a little sick. It may make you feel a little anxious. But after a while, you'll start to recognize them before they even start. So, well, that's the end of the video today. I'd really love to put out more frequently, but I do the best that I can, and I hope that you enjoy them, and I hope that they do something for you. As always, like and subscribe. Always, always, always share. Sharing is caring, because I've said it a zillion times. I made like 22 videos, so I may have said maybe 22 times. But if you share, there's probably 5 people in your life that you don't even know deal with anxiety and panic, and they'll love you and thank you for it. Have a good day and take care of yourself.